Welcome to This American Principal, a weekly podcast dedicated to telling the real stories of school leadership. This week, we're in Central Valley, California, with Alex, who starts off sleeping on his laptop to leading a small school district in his hometown. From navigating a bus driver shortage to aligning curriculum and launching daily student check-ins, Alex shows how small, intentional systems can make a big difference. His story is a reminder that when leaders set clear expectations, stay flexible, and lead with their heart, every student can sense the difference.
Hello.
You got a haircut.
I got a board meeting on Tuesdays. I gotta look somewhat decent.
How are you?
We are busy. I had 3 bus drivers leave us about 2 weeks before school. It's a random stat that there's a 19% decline in bus drivers, so every small school in California is fighting left and right for them.
Yeah. So funny you mentioned that because our poor director of transport was constantly driving bus.
You know who's the director of transportation at my school district?
Who's that?
Like, if somebody calls in sick, we have to do a doomsday plan where one driver has to go twice. Yeah. Please, God. How's everything with you? How you starting a podcast?
Good.
Yeah.
Really good. Yeah. I've been having fun. Super fun. So we met in the Superintendent's Academy.
Right.
Which by the time Dirk Garcia spoke to
You're
us,
like,
he said, if professional development and teaching and learning is like your thing, don't be a superintendent. I was like, noted.
Yeah.
Why did you sign on to that? What did you get from it?
All right, sweet. How did I become the superintendent? Well, I did 8 years in the Bay Area. I worked at a charter school. And one of the things is I still remember this. I'm going for my interview, and the guy says, get used to just sleeping here. And I said, excuse me? He's like, your job is to get the test scores up. I was like, the test scores? At the time, it was 2010, right? I remember going to a job interview. I remember there was 11 positions, and there was 1,300 educators. That was in the midst of the Great Recession. And I'm looking around the room going, holy heck, I'm trying to get into a profession. And I see all these other experts or people that have been in the game. And we're all here trying to fight for these 11, 12, 13 positions. So whatever job I could take at the time, I was able to get one in the Bay. And it was probably one of the best, training by fires I've ever had. Because if you made it through there, you can do anything. You know what I mean?
A tough place.
Well, the thing is, I remember going to sleep with my laptop and then waking up with my laptop and then going to work. I gave the best years of my soul to that spot. And ultimately, people go like, why'd you stay there so long? It's for the kids. Like, it literally was for the kids. These are kids that would come into my 5th grade class. They were reading at a 1st grade level. When I think about leadership and design that's intentional, when you have an organization where you got 40 people that are all on the same page, you would get that kid by the time they left 8th grade, they're reading above grade level. They're outdoing their peers. And that kid is like, I can do anything in the world. So I did that for 8 years, and then I said, you know what? I kind of want to come back home to the Valley. When I moved here from England, I moved in the 6th grade, and we ended up settling my family in Near Merced. And my parents had always said that the reason why they made us move here was because of education. Where I grew up in England, there wasn't a shot in hell that I was going to be successful based on where we were, because it was really rough, the area.
Which part of England?
It's outside of Heathrow, but over there, if you weren't the best or the brightest, you weren't going to make it.
Yep.
So at the time, my dad made the decision, America's going to be a better opportunity. You guys will have a better choice when it comes to schooling. So we ended up moving here. And the backstory about my parents is my mother is to this day still illiterate. She never learned to read or write.
Really?
And my father, he just retired yesterday, actually, believe it or not. He's 70 years old, but he dropped out in the 3rd grade when he was in India. So for us, education's always been that you got to do it, hell or high water. You got to make sure you're successful. And that is your ticket. Like, can't afford to send you anywhere. That's the only way that you're going to be able to make it. So we ended up moving there. I'd always wanted to come back to my area because even the high school that I graduated from, I think 11 of us went to a 4-year university out of 200.
Where'd you go to college?
UC Davis.
Did you know at that time you wanted to go into education?
No. I actually, first I was like, I kind of want to be a doctor, right? I went there, I was like, I kind of want to be a lawyer. I was like, all right, I could do law, right? Do law, had a couple of internships. And I just happened by chance to have a double minor in education and psychology. So I would go like tutor kids and stuff as part of my classes. And then when I graduated, I realized the only time I never complained about something is when I went to school, right? Like even as a kid, like you spend so much time at school. I always enjoyed going to school, even if it was, you had homework, test, project, whatever it is. At the same time, schooling was also my escape from my situation at home too. Like we didn't have a lot of money. Like we ended up in a trailer house. We ended up on a ranch. So I went from London, or the outskirts of London, excuse me, to a random trailer in the middle of nowhere, like 4 miles out of town. Even though my parents had always said it's for you guys to have a better shot at being more successful. Like, dude, I hated them for until I got older and was able to see, okay, this actually clicks and makes sense for me. But
Yeah, well, 6th grade is a tough time to move.
crazy story, I've been in the sixth grade 3 times in my life.
No.
So the school I went to was called Clinton Primary School. At the time, it's 2 teachers per grade level, and they couldn't find a fifth grade teacher. So they moved 12 of us up from fourth grade to sixth grade. So I ended sixth grade, and then you would assume you would just continue with the class, right? You're now six. They said, no, you got to fulfill one more year. I'm like, well, that's stupid because I'm going to do the same thing I just did. So I'm in the sixth grade for the second time. And then at the end of October, we moved to America. And what grade do you think they put me back into?
6th
Well,
grade.
I did 3 stints in sixth grade. Yeah.
Okay, so you start noticing that you really enjoy tutoring kids. I'm gonna guess middle school age, or was it upper L?
It was middle school. If you had me tutoring kindergarten kids, I couldn't do it. I don't have the patience. But it was
Okay,
middle school.
middle school.
Middle school.
Well, especially because that transition and that time in your life was around those years. I'm sure you sort of find yourself still supporting kids at that age.
That coupled with, like I was saying earlier, is because I always enjoyed school, even when it was part of my education or even my classes. I started out as teaching fifth grade math, and then about 3 years into it, the VP at the time, and they had deans, they disappeared. I don't know. I can't remember. Did they get fired? No, I think they left. Whatever. So they go, hey, we need somebody to step up. And I said, all right. So I ended up teaching and also being this dean position. And then from there, I fully went into leadership. So I was there for 4 years. And then I'd always longed, like I said, to come back home or closer to home. The school district I'm at right now is like 10 minutes from where my parents live. So I was like, heck yeah, I applied to that and I got the gig as the principal. I am a superintendent fully. I have a principal underneath me and a VP. I was the principal for 2 years, and now this is the second year of my superintendency.
Do you wanna talk about your first 2 years at this site?
Principal life.
I'm guessing it's a smaller district.
Tiny. 900, and as of this morning, 923 kids. So the school that I was the principal of and currently serve as soup is 2 sites that are right across the street. 921, 23 kids. Declining enrollment is something that keeps me up at night. We have grades TK through 8.
Huh, okay. What was different about the principal role that you learned from your previous vice principal roles?
Well, I think for me is I've always had a knack for doing things the way I want to do it, which sometimes when I was a VP got me in trouble. You know what I mean? With
Mhm.
principals be like, hey man, come check in with me before you go roll this out and stuff. So for me, it was an opportunity where I'm like, yeah, I get to dictate how I want to do the day to day, right? And my backstory again is for me, education has always been my savior. So when I became the principal, I came into a situation where I have some of the best staff. I will go on record and say my staff is amazing. It's like Disneyland. And what I mean by that is you literally stand there and you just see kids that are happy. You see adults that are happy. There is something majestic, and I love going to work every single day. One of the things I take into as part of just the way I operate leadership style too is don't make things overtly complicated, people. Just keep it simple. So when I became a principal, I said, I got to make systems that make this place run efficiently. Because I'd always, even in my previous schools, you've seen when we've been in inefficient systems or if there's too many rules and it gums up the process. So for me, it's taking a conscious look. Is this something that we need to do? Yes. How do we make sure it's simple, easy to follow? And if it's not, get rid of it. So when I first came into the school, that also rubbed some people the wrong way. Well, you can't do that. I said, why not? Well, we've always done it like that. So, you know what I mean? Also, what I saw is that because of the way the demographics are here at our school site, it reminded me of when I was a kid and when I moved is like, my job is to show them that the world is bigger than this county. but I got to get you the tools to say that if you want to stay here, I want you to be successful. I don't care if you go to college, start a business, military, whatever you want to do. I got to show you what your options are. That's also been my mantra with it too, because when I moved here, like my parents and my grandparents would tell me, yo, without school, kid, good luck to you. You're gonna end up at the Foster Farms chicken factory down the street. Not to knock anybody that's doing that, but at the same time, is we got to give you tools to be successful. So for me, it's I came and I said, all right, what can I do to start building up my school's capacity? For the last couple of years, that's what we've been doing is really taking a conscious look at our academics. For example, I didn't have a unified curriculum in all my grade levels. So some grade levels taught this curriculum, and then other ones taught this one, and then the other ones taught this one. I said, how the heck are we supposed to see if we're being effective? So it's that type of like magnifying glass that we started with. And again, it went back to, is this something that we need to do? Yes. Let's refine it. Let's make it good. And if not, it's okay to change people. So that was the lens that I started my tenure, I guess, with.
So you had a clear kind of unveiling of curriculum alignment. Was there anything else on the radar that you picked up on right at the beginning as principal when you first started?
I think one of the things is how are we teaching kids on that social emotional learning, right? If you have a teacher where you're scared to actually ask a question, is that an effective teacher? No, that's the quietest classroom you'll ever go, right? You're not going to have a discipline issue. But how are we building the capacity of our kids to be confident in themselves? So we partnered up with a company I used to use in the Bay. Every single kid gets this lesson. At the end of the lesson, there's an online component where it goes, how are you doing today? Kids
Nice.
type it. It's amazing how kids will share how their day's going or how their week's going, and then our teachers are able to see that and then do reflections back and forth. But it also provides me data where there's kids that are in crisis. As of this school year, I got 10 kids at the system flag that are in crisis. So that means the counselors, myself, admin, we follow up. Hey, you okay? Or hey, mom and dad, the system let us know about
Yeah.
this. Last year, we had 67 of those. Now, I'm not trying to be Mr. Doomsday over here, but imagine there were 67 kids who are reaching out and saying, something's up right now. I need help. And nobody ever followed up with them.
Right.
Well, ironically, I did get some pushback from folks when they're like, why are you installing this new program? I said, I do it already. I ask kids every single day, hey, how you feeling today? Isn't it
Right.
different than what we've done before? But they're like,
You just have a system that's keeping track of it so nobody falls through the
that,
cracks.
and then being able to actually look at where that kid's comfort level was in the beginning of fall to where they are in spring. And then that teacher gets to go on a journey with them too. Imagine 48 weeks or 40 weeks or 180 days worth of back and forth between a teacher or an adult and a student. Not only is everything transcribed to one location, but you can say, hey, remember when that happened 3 months ago? Or when that happened 6 months ago? A kid's been able to share that with somebody, and these are some of the quietest kids, but they're not going to say anything verbally, but absolutely, they're like Shakespeare when it comes to telling you how their week went. So I can see how many times a teacher responded back. Some teachers will also tell me, they're like, I'm more comfortable just asking the kid verbally. I said, 100%, that's perfectly fine. I believe you. I'm not big brother here. Hey, we got to have 100%, response rate.
Yeah.
But having that conversation and teachers saying, "Hey, I've been checking in with so and so," that's exactly what I wanted my system to do. So that's been great.
Wow. Sounds like you also have this element of flexibility.
Well, I've always said with my staff is A, be yourselves. I'm never gonna have you do something that I won't do. Right? And that's the old Michael Jordan quote too. And that always resonates with me too. At the same time, if we have a problem, how do you want to fix it? Simple. Even if the room is dead quiet, sounds like y'all need some more time to think. I'll be back in 20 minutes. Put it back on your teacher. Teachers are fantastic. Your staff will rise up and give you ideas. Now, don't get me wrong, some of the ideas could be terrible, right? You can be like, yeah, we're not doing that. But I think one of the big things where we get in trouble as leaders is sometimes if we're so rigid on something, the idea is mine. I want my kids to be able to express how they're feeling. The flexibility comes in how you guys want to go about that. And then I just call them tights and looses, right? The tight is I want you to be able to figure out how that kid's doing. The loose is I don't care if you talk to them. I don't care if you type it. Shoot, I don't care if you email them every week. As long as I look at you and say, hey, were you able to meet our objective? So I think when it comes into leadership is if you're clear on what your expectation is, then absolutely allow your staff. How do we want to go about implementing this? And that's just part of action research, right? You try something. Is it good? Great. Replicate it. Does it suck? Let me fix something. And then we go, and that's just the circle of life.
Okay. So was there ever a time where that circle kind of crashed and burned, or When did that not pan out? When were you not
I got
successful?
a text from one of my teachers, bless his heart. It was my
Okay.
first 6 weeks of the principalship, and I'm going, "This, we're doing this, we're doing this." He texts me, he goes, "Hey, man, I just got out of church." I was like, "Well, I'm happy Sabbath to you." He goes, "I pray that we'll be able to be okay." And I'm like, What the heck you talking about, man?" And I think what the answer to your question is when you have too much change too quickly, that could also be a hindrance too. So then that gave me the thing, hey, slow down, man. Some of these people, they've been doing the same thing for 10, 12, 15 years. They do it incrementally. So then one of the things is too is when I meet with my teachers is what's the plan for the month? What's the plan for 2 months? Let's do a scope and sequence. That's something that we even started my first year there. I said, I want to see a scope and sequence of what you're teaching. Some people looked at me like, what the heck is a scope and sequence? I go, excuse me? And they go, yeah. I go, well, what are you teaching? That taught me, hold on. Read your audience, man. You got to slow down a little bit. But at the same time, I think it goes into the rigidity of what your idea is. Well, I ain't giving up my idea. I'm just changing my approach a little bit.
Surely there's a part of you,
Mhm.
though, that, like you said, you have a very clear vision of why you are in the position that you're in to ensure the kids have all the options available to
Mhm.
them. So then when you learn about something like they don't have curriculum alignment or they don't have a scope and sequence, how do you light the fire under people or extinguish yours? Because I feel like you're driven by the same motivation that I am, which is we have an obligation to deliver on a system that can adequately prepare these kids for their future.
The first thing he says, you name it. Hey, I'm not asking you to do something that's revolutionary here. What I'm asking you to do is plan. All you already do it. We're gonna do it together. That was it. Now, after the initial band-aid got ripped, guess what? Next staff meeting, this is what we're working towards. You don't let up on what your idea is. Yeah, you can tweak like the acceleration and hitting the brake pedal here and there, but you said it your best. We have a sense of urgency because it's not like these kids are getting younger. It's not like they're not going to go to sixth grade 3 times. you know,
Did you get much pushback? Did you have a pretty supportive staff that
I
just
did, I did.
went along?
I remember there was one gal. She was crying after the first meeting, and I looked at her and I said, "Well, what's wrong?" She was like, "Well, I don't want to teach this curriculum." I said, "Well, guess what? We're gonna do it together." Like I said, I wasn't changing my approach to it. So then I started co-teaching with her once or twice a week. The other thing is, and I've said this before, my staff have heard this, if you don't like what you're doing here, there's other jobs down the street.
You say
I
that?
said,
Really?
we have a plan here. I have a vision on what we're trying to do. Is we also need alignment. If you don't like which way the train's moving, no disrespect, no hate towards you, high five, lots of love, but you can exit on the next station. That's it.
But what about people who, like I had people who've been there 39 years where they like, no, you're the one that needs to go. You didn't endure any of
Well,
that?
I always get well, you're gonna be gone anyway.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. But the other thing is, even when you have a staff member like that, I think what I've learned in my experience now is you name it. Hey, look, you and I clearly have a fundamental difference, but my job as your supervisor is to make sure that we're all on the same page here. So how do you want to do this? We go from there. I mean, do you want me to do a weekly check-in with you, lesson planning? Do you want me to do your scope and sequence with you? I'll sure be your buddy during those random PD events. Yay, you're my buddy again.
Right.
One of the things I also did is, like I said, you want to read your audience because you don't want to go into a room and just irritate 95% of them, right? Because you got some out of the box ideas. I remember my first PD is I said, I want to recognize the leadership in this room. Stand up if you've been here 5 years or more, 10 years, 20 years. I had somebody that was close to 30 something years. I said, you are a legend. You're a celebrity in the community. And the lady at the time looked at me. She goes, what do you mean? As in the amount of families that you have touched, you are more famous than 99% of the people in this county. Now, that doesn't mean you aren't going to change or that you ain't going to learn something new. You're the most famous person. Imagine I walked around, our most famous person of 29 years is refusing to get better.
Right.
For me, it's relationships, being able to have those conversations. And I tell people too, hey, this conversation is going to be terrible. This is going to be a hard conversation. For you, it's going to be hard. For me, it's just my job.
In those first 2 years, what were you most proud of?
Was told I was a Jedi Master and a Sith Lord by the same person in 1 month.
Was it a parent or a
It was
staff
a staff
member?
member, it was a teacher, bless her heart.
Oh,
She's like,
really?
"You're literally." I go, "You just called me a Jedi Master 3 weeks ago. What the heck?" But
How did you become a Sith
I
Lord?
did something she wasn't happy about. And that was it. What was I most happy about is we started a culture where it was okay to say, that lesson was terrible. Let me redo it.
Okay.
And the other thing I've started too, and this is testament to my staff, is it takes a village. I'm explaining it takes a village. That means all hands on deck. And whether you're the driver, the custodian, the secretary, the principal, the soup, you're going to see us all stepping in where we need to do it. I mean, if I need to go clean up, like there was a teacher I was talking to her the other day. I was in her class and it was the first 2 weeks of school and I was the principal and, she's teaching. She had TK at the time. A little kid started to have an accident. And she's looking at me, I'm looking at her, we're looking at the little kid, there's a puddle of pee-pee. And before she even called the office, I went, got paper towels, started cleaning it up, put it away, threw it in the thing. I go, just send the kid to the office. I joked with her about 2 weeks ago. I go, imagine if I looked at you and walked in and said, oh, you need to take care of that. What kind of leadership style would that be? What kind of principal would that be? It was my first 2 weeks of school with my new principal, and this guy, a kid, had an accident, nor did he not help me. He said, go take care of it.
Mhm.
It's those types of things where, like, it goes back to what I'm saying is I'm never going to have you do something I want to do. If I'm picking up piss,
Sounds like you challenge this idea of defined roles and responsibilities. And there's no job that you're not willing to help, like, directly.
if the leader of your school is saying, hey, things didn't turn out our way, right? Test scores, right? We're always judged on test scores. I mean, I think sometimes as educators, we are judged. There's an arbitrary number that ends up defining whether or not you're a good teacher. A good teacher is somebody who's checking in with kids. A good teacher who's looking at his or her lessons and thinking, how can I push the thinking on this one? A good teacher is
Mhm.
also the same person who understands that I have to be very systematic in how I go about this because I have kids that are 2, 3, 4 years behind sometimes. And I think as leaders, oh, we're so quick to say, well, you need to do X, Y, and Z, blah, blah. But we also need to do a job of understanding what are our teachers facing on a day in and day out. You also have to exemplify what are your expectations of people. When you see you as a principal saying, I didn't go so hot, I'm going to redo this. At the same
Right.
time is, and you've dealt with these people too in your career, is when you have these negative Nancy's kind of derail everything you're trying to do. I've always said, if you show or you convey that there's a person's negativity is getting to you, then you've lost the point of the story. You can sit there and yell all you want. I'm gonna look at you and go, so what do you want to do to fix this? What do you want to do? What I'm
Mhm.
not gonna do is
Mhm.
retreat. What I'm not gonna say is, I'm just gonna give up right here. I think as principals, that's a lesson that there's some principals that lead by fear. There's some principals that unfortunately get pushed over, but you got to lead by
Yeah.
example. I mean, that's my thing on it. Yeah.
How do you prioritize time in the classroom? And what would advice be for administrators that really struggle with supporting the teaching and learning side of the school?
You gotta have leave me the heck alone time. Now, what I mean by that, staff for the next hour, my secretaries, my office, leave me the heck alone. This is my 1 hour of the day where I'm going to classes. That's it. Put a sign up. My old principal at one of the high school I worked at, he had a thing is you cannot come in here when this sign is up, and that was it. Unless a meteor is about to hit the school. And even then, it was debatable. Is this guy going to do anything about it? You have to be very conscious of that. But at the same time, though, is just going into a classroom, spending some minutes, and then giving proper feedback. I think as admin, we go into a class, oh, that lesson's great. Teacher would be like, well, what was great about it? You got to be very succinct in what is the actual kudos you're giving to. Hey, I love the way that you actually took 5 seconds before we're answering the question, right? That think time. Or, hey, I really appreciated where even though Johnny had the wrong answer, you kept pushing him on it. I'm giving you a concrete example on what to do so you replicate it. We do the same thing for discipline. Restorative practices, I guess, is my big jam. So that's something else we brought to the school site. I told you, Mr. A. Smith texted me at church, like, yeah, we brought restorative practices my first year. We did a whole bunch of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how did that go over with the staff?
Well, the way I framed it, I would go back to that thing, know your audience, right? My audience want to make sure that discipline is discipline. We follow the hand, but you can still have consequences, but there still needs to be repair work. If I go do something that's inappropriate or I go punch you, yeah, you can suspend me. But if you and I never had a conversation about what I was doing, it's going to repeat. I'll probably punch you again in 2 days. I think this goes back to something else I said too. You got to keep it simple. Restorative practices in my head, it means I need to restore and repair if I do something that's wrong. That's it. Still have consequences, but I'm also then facilitating meetings with parents. Hey, you're bringing your baby back. You're going to sit down with the other family. And all that went over terribly with some folks. So I'm not coming to these meetings.
Wow, you had him sit with the other family?
Yeah. If you want,
I didn't even know if we were allowed to do
well, you
that.
can always ask. I
Yeah.
can't force anybody to do it. And then even when you're on the phone with a parent, hey, mom, I can't force you to sit down, but you guys seem to have a civil war that's like that, what, Hatfield and McCoy's now for the last 10 years. Aren't you tired of this too? You know?
Yeah.
And I think so. Where a young lady, she had said that this other boy had been bullying her since like second or third grade. And by the time we were done with the circle, mom's crying, dad's crying. The boy got up and apologized to the young lady and said, I am sorry I've made your life hell all these years. Here I was thinking I was
Wow.
trying to be cute, but that took me what? A month of prep work, a month of sitting down with that young man. The boy, he was filled with a lot of anger. And, that young girl just happened to be, it was an ongoing
Like a
thing. But
target.
with him though, it's how do you deal with your emotions? I'm still gonna suspend you. I mean, like there's no consequences. So we had initiated that. And for us is, again, we had to show our staff on, well, what does that actually entail? When we're yelling at somebody, right, to do better, what we're trying to get to is, I want you to fix your behavior, but I also got to hear from you. And, so that's something that we continue to work at. That's something that we continue to have PD and support around. But even modeling it, you can be warm and demanding, as I like to call it. You can still be warm and demanding in how you go around the culture of your school.
What do you miss and not miss about being in the principal spot?
Miss, I like being the face of it, right? Because on the soup side, you got to let your people shine. They're doing the day in and day out stuff. I'm just the overarching. I'm the top of the triangle, but you're more in it. You get more energy from the kids. I miss that. I still miss that, and I try to do my thing where I pop in here and there and stuff like that. And because we're so small, I'm also more hands on. I'm not your typical soup, I would say. What I don't miss about the principal stuff, That's a good question. Sometimes the mundane back and forth sometimes you have to go through, right? A lot of those smaller ticket items. Me, I'm more big picture, more big thinking. And the way my brain operates, I don't do the details. So
What's your hope to stay there a long time in that community?
there's a running joke as soon as I got the job as a principal that I would have been gone after the first year. Not because of anything negative, but it was because you're too big for this place, that you would get snatched up by a bigger district. And I said, look, I made a conscious decision to come home because this is also the way I was inspired or told as a young man in sixth grade for the third time that education is going to be your key. I had to do the same. So no, I have a 3-year contract. I'm in year 2. My board always laughs with me too. They're like, oh, you're going to leave one day. And I'm going to be here. The day I wake up and I'm not happy to come to work is the day I stop. That's it. And I've always had that with any job when I wake up and I go, I'm not excited about work today. That's the day okay, it's time to move on. Yeah.
Really?
My whole thing is keep it simple. I was never the most book smart kid. I mean, my school psychologist was like, dude, you got pretty bad like ADD, right? I go, yeah. I go, thank you.
That's so funny.
No, I think I've also seen it when people make things, and I've seen so many ideas blow up in people's faces or principles where they have a great idea, but then you make it so big and so overtly complicated that nobody can execute it. So I always take that lens into it too. And I think that's also just efficiency. Our time is so valuable. I don't need to sit with you for
Yeah,
3.5 hours. You got 20 minutes
right.
tops.
Sounds like you have a gift for kind of finding the essence of things and then taking that and moving forward.
I think to answer your question fully, honestly, you gotta have fun. If you don't have fun with what you're doing, kids see that, right? The last thing you need is 30 Einsteins telling you, and I don't mean Einstein in a negative context, because these little good dudes are smart, right? Little girls and boys said, you don't look happy today. Yep.
Yeah, they
And if you got a culture where you built that love and rapport, they'll tell you, hey, you don't seem right today. What's going on? Again, it's if you want to build a system, you have to lead by example. I'll shout out Michael Jordan. I hope he hears this podcast. Send me some Bulls tickets, dude. Like, come on.
I'll make sure to leave that part in. When we get super famous and basketball players are listening to an educational
I'm
podcast.
sending to Jordan himself, man. But like,
There you
you gotta
go.
have You gotta have fun, and I will say this, education is probably one of the best jobs in the world. Teaching children is innate. What I mean by that, there's not one culture I've ever seen or heard of where they don't want the younger generation to do better with them. It doesn't matter your politics, where you live, who your mama, your grandpa was. Every single person, that's something that's just built into us. You look out for the younger ones, and that's my stance.
Thanks for listening to This American Principle. If today's story resonated with you, share this podcast with a colleague, a friend, or anyone who needs a reminder of just how hard and how vital school leadership really is. And if you've got a story of your own, head over to www.leadingforlearning.com to share your experience. Because this isn't just a podcast, it's a community. Together, we are lifting up the voices of the people who make schools work. Until next time, keep leading with courage, clarity, and heart.